You're listening to The Affiliates, a podcast that features stories of entrepreneurs and young leaders who are changing the world for better every single day. My name is Alok Rathod, and I'm a film producer best known for projects such as Choice and The Doorbell. I'm sitting down with leaders to talk about their process, the lessons they've learned, and how to make an impact. In this episode, Archil talks about the economics of artificial intelligence, a possibility of technology overtaking humans, and the importance of building a transparent culture within your organization. Welcome to the show, Archil.
Thanks for having me.
So, what's your story?
CEO of a company called GenesisAI, and this company develops websites that connects all the artificial intelligences throughout the world through marketplace, through enabling companies to buy and sell artificial intelligence services. So how things started? So one of my interest in artificial intelligence was sparked when one of my closest friends died in a car accident. And unfortunately, this car accident was due to the human factor. And I thought that if my friend, for example, was not under alcohol influence, if he was, let's say, in self-driving car, and self-driving cars, do not get drunk, his life will be saved right now. So this was something that sparked my interest, and instead of working on specific solution, for example, self-driving cars, I decided to go a little bit broader, and we decided to work on creating artificial general intelligence, which potentially can create all the different AIs that you need. For example, there will be AI for self-driving cars. There will be AIs that discovers whether there are any disease outbreaks or not, and so on. So our approach of creating artificial general intelligence is through connecting all the AIs in the world with each other, through offering a marketplace for artificial intelligence services. This way, they can trade services, they can trade data, and they can learn from each other and build their knowledge upon each other. So this is my story, and this is how we got started.
So, how did your education play a role in helping you develop a career?
Education helped me in a couple of ways in my career. First one is network. So I built lots of meaningful connections and relationships. So these meaningful relationships have been instrumental in me moving from one place of career to the next stage. Second thing that really helped me was education. Helped me to find out what's my interests are, and what I do well and what I do not do well. It's super important to know what you are interested at and what you are good at and what you are not good at. Discovering your superpowers and weaknesses is super important. So education really helped me out to sort of find my path, to see where I want to go and where I can go. That was big things that helped me determine what my career should be and what should I do to actually get there. So that's the second thing, and third thing is more of a sort of intellectual development and intellectual stimulation. So education in schools are usually one of the best places to exercise your brain, to become smarter, to think differently, to think much more analytical way. Just the one big exercise that really helps you to get smarter. So education was instrumental in me getting this sort of starting from technical abilities to actually thinking differently than I used to think. So the three things: meaningful relationships, intellectual stimulation, and understanding what my interests are and what my weaknesses, superpowers are, were a couple of things that was super helpful and is super helpful in my career.
That's interesting. And I also have had a similar experience at Harvard. And essentially, that's where we became friends. Going to Harvard really made me realize the number of possibilities that are out there that you can explore. And the people that are studying with you are already sort of like, doing so many great things that it pushes you, it motivates you to, like, do your best. And I think that's really important factor in an education, because
Yeah.
that surround you are also the participants in your journey to success. And if they are supportive and helpful and they contribute to your knowledge, then it really takes your talent to a new level. And the reason I can have a company in New York is because I have a friend at Harvard who decided to help me out with the registration and all of that stuff. Yeah, I certainly agree with your point that, Harvard is a great place if you want to not only better understand the concepts of business or economics or medicine or whatever it may be, but also, like, developing a good network and just being in that ecosystem that stimulates your intellectual. So I certainly attest to that. What's your process of developing a great brand?
So it's all about having a grand vision, a vision that that basically tells to people that it will change the world if achieved successfully. It's this idea of creating something very large that can transform everything. Idea of achieving something that looks impossible. It's something that attracts people to this vision, and vision is behind the brand, right? So for example, Elon Musk is a big brand himself, and through himself Tesla and SpaceX are big brands as well. And the major reason why Elon Musk became one of the most popular people in the world is not necessarily because of what he already achieved, but it's mostly because of what he's working to achieve and what's his vision. His vision is sort of like a couple of very, very interesting and grandiose things. One of them is sort of colonizing Mars, right? It's something that most people don't even think about. And it's so revolutionary and so transformative that people are really attracted to it. So I think if you are talking about a personal brand, branding yourself or branding your company, having a grand vision is super important.
And I think Elon Musk is kind of my inspiration as well, because it's not just the scale of ideas that he thinks on, but also the ability to execute on them. And that's really impressive about him, because when I heard the concept of Boring Company, where he wants to make tunnels, high speed tunnels under Los Angeles so that people don't have to get stuck in traffic, I think that itself was an idea that I was blown away by. I'm like, okay, this guy really wants to solve big problems, and he's coming up with ways to solve them. And that's incredible, because as you said, not many people are even able to think to solve problems as big as like colonizing Mars, or like, having a free internet all over the world through a system of super connected satellites. And I think in that sense, he is really revolutionary. And I think, yeah, his vision to just uplift the humanity from its current state is just so inspiring. And yeah, I think something that seems impossible but when achieved could really change the world. I think it's one of the good ways to come up with a good brand for yourself. So how has the people around you, specifically your friends and family, inspired you?
It's a very interesting question, Look. So I think most important is most important thing is my friends and family helped me to become more open-minded. So they helped me to put my ego aside. They helped me to deal with realities and really understand who I am. This was sort of one of the biggest influence that my friends and family had on me. I always was asking them for a feedback. I always was asking them suggestions on how can I become better. I always, and sometimes when I heard harsh feedback or when I heard that I was terrible, something which I thought was super important for achieving my goals, it was very painful. So it was very hard for me to deal with realities that I was terrible at something that was sort of instrumental for achieving my career goals. But after going through this pain, I started to realize that only through acknowledging that you have a weakness can you overcome this weakness. If you consider that you don't actually have that weakness, you're not going to work on solving it. For example, let's say that I'm working on a tech startup and I found out that I'm not the best engineer in the world. I'm not best at writing a code. If I do not deal with this reality and continue writing code, I probably will create software that is completely dysfunctional. So, but if I look into eyes of the reality, which is I'm not a great coder, and try to solve that, I will be potentially be able to eradicate this weakness and then actually create a good software. For example, I can eradicate this problem by two things. First one is let's say getting a co-founder or getting an employee who is much better at writing code than you are. So you will focus on other things. He will do the software part. So that's one way to sort of fulfill your basically eradicate your weakness. And second is to actually work on solving it. There's so many ways, starting from education to actually hands-off experience, to do that. So one of the big things that my family and friends influenced me was to help me to deal with realities better, so I can become stronger after I go through this pain of discovering your weaknesses, and then pain of going through to eradicate these weaknesses.
And I think it's so important that people acknowledge their weaknesses, because sometimes due to either ego issues or the way the organization is structured, sometimes people who are leading things don't necessarily need to have expertise or a deep understanding into the ideas into which they are leading the people. And I think a lot of companies don't really reach their true potential because the leaders or the managers don't really acknowledge that they have a weakness or a problem that they need to overcome, and it's that mindset that holds them back. Whereas, had they been aware of it and they knew that, okay, if I have to tackle this problem, then maybe it's me who needs to get educated and then lead the people. And I think a lot of people who have been on this show have actually acknowledged this thing, and they've said that, okay, um, it's important to first understand the challenges that are involved in whatever you're leading your people, and only when you're aware of that you can lead them effectively. So as you said, about if you're not good at coding, you need to get better at coding, otherwise I'll end up writing a bad piece of software. And good that you are aware, because usually people, when they get out of college and they have their own startup, they usually are looking to make big bucks and be all fancy about it. But I think it's this awareness that I think can really be your strength and could be the game changer as far as something like AI goes, because that in itself is still such a misunderstood concept. But I think by growing and by understanding it, we all can use it to our advantage. how would you say is your leadership style different than others?
So I look, my leadership style uh, is very much sort of focused on uh, doing everything to find out what's the truth. So what I mean by this is, so basically, sort of, I am obsessed with finding the truth in at the workplace. For example, starting from understanding, okay, what's the truth? Should we, for example, I know, starting from like, do we have a problem in our sales department, for example, or not? Or does particular person has weakness XYZ or not? Or is there a fundamental problem in the company or not? Basically, dealing with knowing, basically understanding what the truth is, and the way you can do that is having a very transparent environment in the workplace, having a culture which sort of incentivizes people to speak directly, which incentivizes people to tell things the way it is without any exaggerations or without any without doing anything. Just say how it is. It's through encouraging people not to talk behind the back of other people. It's through encouraging people to put their ego aside during discussions. So I believe this is a sort of there's a couple of things that really bolsters the culture where people do everything to find out what the truth is. And my leadership style is all about sort of creating this type of culture, creating the system where people can discover what the truths are, can speak truth, and not being afraid of saying it. For example, if you are in, let's say, large Wall Street investment bank, and you tell to your managers that she or he has some problem, and you're giving him feedback to for him to change this problem, you probably will be fired the next day. And I think that's terrible. People in most companies cannot even say the truth. What they do instead is they go and talk behind the back of other people. So this creates politics. Then people get angry with each other. Then there are relationship problems. So if you had meaningful work and meaningful relationships before those things happen, now you have none. You have no relationships. You want to be done with work as soon as you can, and work is also not productive, because if you are thinking about how to hurt your coworker, that means you are thinking less about how to, for example, find other sources of revenue for your company. So my leadership style is very much focused on that, which is largely different from priorities that other leaders have.
And I think it's so important to have a good culture that keeps everyone creative and productive, because I've worked with an investment bank, and boy, like, the amount of politics that goes on, like, be it getting, like, a favorable shift, or be it getting, like, a favorable benefit, or just trying to further your name for promotion and all of that stuff. It's just crazy. And, like, I agree that if you say someone in investment banking that you're not good, you will certainly be fired the next day. But I think, yeah, like, each company has its own unique culture, and it's important to keep things open and transparent, because if people are, as you said, talking behind the back, then that creates a lot of negativity at workplace, and that's not good for, like, long term working relationships, and, like, reaching your goals. And I've seen companies, that have mercenary culture, where they are just, like, purely work, and, like, they don't care about the person at all. And then I've seen, on the other end of the spectrum, the companies that are very open and friendly, and it's almost like, a group of friends working together, uh,
Mhm.
m- uh, and not really, like, having a very strict consideration on reaching a particular goal. um, so, I mean, both of these cultures have their own place and setting to be effective. But I think having a good balance of, like, both is really a way to achieve any goal possible while balancing the human factor. So I think it's good that you are able to balance all of these things, and I hope that your the culture that you have built continues to grow and be productive. Now, everyone who knows about AI, the artificial intelligence, and everyone who doesn't know about AI feels that AI is going to take over the world and it's going to start wars and destroy the humanity. So, what are your thoughts on it? Do you think that AI can become evil, or do you think we can control it?
I think there is a chance. There definitely is a probability that artificial intelligence probably will become smarter than us in maybe 20 to 30 years. Later, might hurt us, might harm us. There is a chance of doing that. The interesting thing is. There has never been a time in the history of mankind when there was more intelligence, more intelligence being or species than humanity itself, and usually more intelligent species extinct less intelligent species. For example, so many animals were extinct by other more intelligent animals. So this will be the first time in mankind's history when there is something, some type of something basically that is smarter than all of us as a whole. So there is a fundamental risk that something that will be smarter than us might make us humans extinct. So there is a risk, but my approach is just a fact because of the fact that, for example, phone can be used as a way to call in the school and say that there is a bomb. The fact that it can be misused doesn't mean that we should not use phone, or it doesn't mean that we should not have worked on creating a phone. Similar is the fact that AI might do something terrible to us in the future doesn't really mean that we should not develop potentially most valuable technologies that mankind will ever see. So that's one. And second part of the question is more of a sort of will we lose jobs or not? And my answer is. AI will automate many different jobs, starting from customer service to people working in mines and so on. But by automating several lines of jobs, it will create new ones. Similarly to what Industrial Revolution did. For example, Industrial Revolution made people who were riding horses as sort of riding carts or horses as a taxi driver unemployed. But by doing this, through Industrial Revolution, we have seen creation of new industry, which was automobiles and cars, which right now employs millions of people. So that similar thing will happen in case of AI. It will destroy some jobs, but by doing it at the same time, it will create a new one. And my approach is AI will free humanity from doing things that are super boring and from doing things that are dangerous. For example, we should not be in mines. We should not be spending days on commuting and riding trucks. We should not be fighting with each other using our flesh against another person's flesh. There's so many things that humanity is not should not be doing, but is still doing because of lack of technological availability. And what our company's goals is to actually create AIs that will free humanity from boring and dangerous tasks.
That's interesting because before having this conversation with you, I had a very different perspective on AI. And although, I also believed that there is a probability that it could potentially maybe start a war, or take over things like machines and the other stuff, as we've seen in Terminator. I think I agree with you that, okay, if just because there could be potentially harmful ways that a technology can be used doesn't mean it shouldn't be developed. Of course, there will always be like two sides to any technology that you develop, and technologies are not perfect. People expect technology to be perfect, as in like AI should be this and that, and it shouldn't be doing this, and it should be doing that. And I feel that's a lot of pressure to put on just the technology. I think we should see technology as incremental step towards better humanity rather than having like one go and then like completely transforming the humanity. And I think a lot of people miss that point. A lot of people feel that okay, if there is a self-driving car, it should never be in the accident. But that's just not true. It will reduce the number of deaths, but it will not eliminate the road accidents. And that's why people, I think, like sometimes give a lot of bad words to technology. But I think, yeah, how the technology will grow and unfold remains to be seen in terms of like what are the potential applications that we can come up with. I mean, of course, there are a lot of applications that we are using AI for right now, but then going ahead, how it will evolve will be certainly interesting, and I hope not as dangerous as some people say it would be. So, what kind of impact would you like to see your work have on people?
Look, what we want to do uh, is to basically, the most important thing is to free humanity from doing boring and dangerous things. So I say these are two key words: boring and dangerous. We should not be spending, like there are so many people who are, let's say, truck drivers, and they are driving from X point to Y point for countless hours. I mean, is it fun? Can anybody tell me that driving truck for hours is fun? Definitely not. Or there's so many other examples. So if we automate that and create new industries where these people can work at, we will be increasing overall happiness. We will be moving away people from boring tasks to tasks that are not boring. Hopefully, super fun, but let's just say not boring. And second part is freeing humanity from doing tasks that are dangerous. For example, there should not be hundreds of thousands of people dying in war each year. People should not be fighting flesh against flesh, or for example, there are so many people dying in mining, in a different. Mining is a very dangerous industry. There are so many people dying in many different places. For example, in rescue operations. So if we create technologies that can free humanity from doing dangerous tasks, we will save millions of people's lives. And that's super important, right? It's all about increasing humans' happiness, and it's all about sort of eradicating case when humans are at the risk of dying, or eradicating case when they are dying. Because if you are dead, you cannot be happy, right? And if you are not dead, then we should do everything to make you happy. So I think that should be a real sort of goal of technology to make sure that people will not die from cases that can be avoided, and when people are alive, make sure that they do things that are not boring and actually fun.
I think yes, like mining is like one of the industries where the life hazard is really high, and hazard to life is really high, or whatever is said. Yeah, I think it's important that we create technologies that reduces the risk of life for human beings, and the I think like the technologies that you talk about has a huge potential in third world countries like, India or Indonesia or uh, Vietnam and all of those places, provided they have that infrastructure, I think like, these technologies could really make that difference. Of course, doing anything boring is not fun, so people should not be doing boring things. But I think, yeah, even when you talk about the human factor and the risk on life, that is something that's within our control and within our reach. So we should certainly come up with technologies that helps preserve human life, and I hope that you continue to do so very effectively as you go about growing your company. Sure. So what's next? What are the exciting projects that you're currently working on, and what can we expect from you going ahead?
Look, what we want to do is to basically connect all the artificial intelligences that exist in the world with each other. So we are early stage right now. We started Genesis. Genesis a couple of months ago, so we are creating foundation for us doing that, and our vision is to connect all the AIs in the world so that they can trade services, they can become subcontractors of each other, so that they can trade data, learn from each other, and we believe that only through connecting different expert AIs with each other, it is possible to create artificial general intelligence, which basically means that AIs that can do not only one thing well, but multiple things very well. For example, we know about Tesla self-driving capabilities, but if you want that self-driving AI to work on motorbikes, you need to completely rewrite how the technology works, and it will just not work. So AIs are not adaptable. They can do very, very specific things, but they cannot do many different things at the same time. So our goal is to sort of connect all of this, all the AIs with each other, similar to human brains, where human brain can do so many things at the same time, right? And through connecting each of its sort of directions become stronger and more efficient. But that's our goal. Look, and we want people to participate. We want this technology to be created through people's participation and for the people. This idea of by the people and for the people. We are creating decentralized application so that power of AI will be accumulated not in the hands of the few that is happening right now, Google, Facebook, Microsoft, but in the hands of the people. That's our vision, and we are very passionate about achieving this vision.
I'm certainly fascinated by these ideas. So you can reach out to me anytime you feel if there's anything I can do to help you. And I hope that you continue to grow your company and further your ideas and vision, because we need more people who are coming up with big ideas and looking to make that impact. And if you are doing so, then you have all of my support. Uh, Thank you so much for being on the show, and it was great talking to you. It was so amazing to understand how the AI ecosystem works and your value system and your education and all of that. I certainly feel that there is a lot more that we can expect from you and AI going ahead. And I hope that you continue to do great work so you can come on season 2 as well.
Thank you very much, Alok. Absolute pleasure. Super interesting conversation. And I wish you great luck to you and to your community of listeners.
All right. Thank you so much.
You've been listening to The Afflatus. If you like what you've heard, do us a favor and share the episode with your network on social media. It helps. If you would like to know more about the show or share your opinion on the episodes, connect with us on facebook.com/UNCIAFilms. That's facebook.com/UNCIAFILMS. If you would like to support the crowdfunding campaign of my latest film, The Doorbell, then click on the link mentioned in the description. Even a single dollar helps. Thank you so much for listening to The Afflatus.